يا ابو الحسن يا علي يا علي يا ولد طب جوا يا ولد لا اله الا الله على امريكان دير بالك دير بالك دير بالك لا اله الا الله يا ابو الحسن جوا جوا جوا
Caused the next big one.
This is all about trying to shut down the possibility of another inferno passing through this region. It's already done that, and so many of these areas are very hot. By hosing them down now, when the weather heats up once again, the heat wave returns, they're not going to cause an ignition. That's the hope anyway.
For most firefighters, this is the most catastrophic fire of their career. Some fighting blazes that have been burning since September. And it's about to get worse. Another heat wave is coming Friday. This is dangerous work, and it's been deadly. So it's surprising to learn who these firefighters are.
All of them volunteer?
Every single one volunteers.
It's amazing.
It is. About 72,000 volunteers in New South Wales for our service. The largest voluntary fire service in the world.
On this crew, 3 teachers and an Uber driver.
You're a volunteer?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
What do you do the rest of the time?
I'm an arborist.
You're an arborist?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're used to dealing with trees.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm usually up there climbing around in them, actually.
The Fireys, as they're called in Australia, have something of a hero status. So too, it would seem, do the latest arrivals of Canadian fire specialists. Applauded arriving off a round-the-world flight and joining teams of experts across the fire zone, some doing behind-the-scenes work, others on the front lines.
They're looking at the weather and the fuels and the topography and putting it all together and telling us where the fire is going to go tomorrow.
There is no time to ease into the job for the Canadians or anyone else. This is a crisis, and one that seems certain to last for months to come. David Coleman, CBC News, Illaroo, Australia.
Dozens of firefighters took a break from the front lines today to honour a fallen colleague. Andrew O'Dwyer was one of 2 volunteer firefighters killed last month when a burnt tree fell and caused their truck to roll. The 36-year-old leaves behind his daughter, Charlotte. She was presented with her father's service medal, then put on his helmet and stayed near his coffin. O'Dwyer was described as a free spirit who loved his family and his fire brigade.
The Amazon is burning. A record number of fires, over 72,000, have been detected in the world's largest rainforest this year. Brazil's National Institute for Space Research reports that's an 83% increase from last year. Environmental groups say the policies of Brazil's president, Jair Bolsonaro, encourage deforestation of the Amazon, which in turn allows for more fires. Bolsonaro, in turn, alleges that environmental groups started the fires to embarrass his administration. Meanwhile, the jungle is aflame. Here, a motorist captures thick smoke pouring into the sky from one of the fires. The Amazon covers over 2 million square miles. It's home to indigenous groups, as well as thousands of species of plants and animals. 2/3 of the world's plant species can be found there. And it's seen as a vital hedge against the carbon emissions that contribute to climate change. A loss that becomes more pressing as global temperatures continue to rise.
Go inside.
A powerful earthquake hit the southern Philippine island of Mindanao this morning. At least 5 people are dead, according to local media. The magnitude 6.5 earthquake struck at about 9 a.m. local time in Cotabato province. It is the 3rd quake to hit the area in 2 weeks, all measuring more than magnitude 6. The latest tremor sent terrified locals fleeing from homes, schools and malls. Buildings collapsed as the powerful shaking rattled the already damaged homes and buildings. In Kidapawan city, a 6-story hotel collapsed, but a disaster official said the building had already been evacuated. The series of quakes since October 16th has killed around 20 people so far. Thousands are still in evacuation centers, either because their homes have been destroyed or they are too afraid to return to their residences. Now for more, our correspondent Cherry Regalado joins us from Manila. Cherry, 3rd earthquake in 2 weeks. What's the current situation like?
Well, residents were already warned of possible high-magnitude earthquake following the earthquake 2 weeks ago. Local government units have been evacuating residents and ordering closure of some buildings as early as yesterday after another quake hit the Mindanao region 2 days ago. For example, the Davao City government already asked the residents of the condominium Ecoland 400 residences to evacuate as early as yesterday. Some residents, however, chose to stay. Likewise, the Kidapawan City government had already asked the guests and employees of the badly damaged Eva Hotel to vacate the building yesterday. Right now, LGUs, with the help of the Philippine National Police and the military, have been conducting rescue and search operations for some badly damaged areas. Evacuation are also ongoing. Kidapawan City government already closed the Davao-Cotabato highway as the collapsed Eva Hotel is located right beside the highway. Kidapawan Mayor Joseph Evangelista said that the 6-story hotel may fall apart anytime and hurt passers-by or vehicles. All government agencies are now currently checking the affected areas as they are required to submit a report to President Duterte.
So, Sherry, what are authorities doing to help those affected then?
President Duterte already ordered all national government agencies to mobilize and coordinate with the local government units. His instruction was to ensure that the government buildings, public school buildings are safe and that evacuees are located in a safe area. The Department of Social Welfare and Department of Health are already providing relief and medical assistance. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PhilVox, already sent new instruments to augment the monitoring of the aftershocks and earthquakes in the region. The PhilVox also continues to remind those living in landslide-prone areas to evacuate. The agency and LGUs also warn the public against going back to their homes, especially if there are already visibly damaged portions. The government is also appealing to the public to wait for the official announcements and updates from both national and local governments to prevent panic among residents. Those affected are also encouraged to report to the authorities any unsafe, damaged structures.
Thanks for that. Sherry Regalado speaking to us from Manila.
We're going to begin with the chaos in Puerto Rico. A 6.4 earthquake and multiple aftershocks rocking the island just a day after a 5.8 earthquake destroyed multiple homes in this famous landmark, the Punta Ventana rock formation. ABC's Victor Oquendo starts us off with the very latest. Good morning, Victor.
Good morning, Michael. This was felt across the island, the most powerful earthquake yet, followed by a swarm of at least 11 more. The notoriously vulnerable power grid was shut down proactively, and we're now getting a better scope of the damage with Sunrise.
Power in my room here in Old San Juan is out.
This morning, Puerto Rico engulfed in darkness, lights barely flickering at the airport in San Juan.
The power went out at the airport.
At least one hospital forced to evacuate patients to the streets in their gurneys after a powerful 6.4 earthquake rocked the island this morning.
Oh my God, it's shaking.
21-year-old Nicole Peralta lives in San Juan and woke up to her apartment swaying back and forth.
I could hear cracks through my house. Everything started falling over.
This comes on the heels of Monday's 5.8 quake called a foreshock that shook houses right off their foundations, snapped power poles, and toppled this home, pancaking both cars parked below. It was one of the strongest quakes to ever hit the U.S. territory, causing small landslides on this highway. Drivers forced to avoid boulders during their morning commute. Officials say tremors have been hitting the area since late December. The quake striking less than 10 miles off the southwest coast near the major city of Ponce, a place we visited a few months ago. Still so vulnerable, more than 2 years since Hurricane Maria.
When they rain coming a lot of water.
A lot of water comes right inside the house. More than 13 aftershocks followed Monday's quake, this station on the air during one of them. The threat of a quake looms large here because Puerto Rico sits along the border of two tectonic plates. Officials say people in the southwest part of the island need to remain on high alert. Reports of a handful of injuries in the southern part of the island are coming in now. One of the main power plants in that same area also sustained some damage. The hope is that power will be restored later today, but with so many strong aftershocks, there's no timetable for that. Robin?
Frightening situation there. All right, Victor, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
There is a race against time in South Sudan, with warnings that parts of the country could tip into famine in the coming months. Devastating floods that submerged entire towns have destroyed crops and killed livestock. The World Food Programme says 5.5 million people are facing hunger early next year.
Pibor, the capital of Boma State, is normally a flourishing town. But since October, when unusually heavy rain started falling, nothing is normal anymore.
Most of the, things in Boma State have been destroyed by floods. Over 78 people died because of these floods. So most of livestock, the cows in the cattle camp, destroyed. The belongings have been destroyed. The whole market, the whole town of Boma State is really covered with water. A lot of humanitarian private assets have been destroyed, and the situation is helpless up to now.
The situation is not just causing hunger, but could also threaten the fragile peace in the area. Violence between rival ethnic groups has decreased of late. UN engineers repaired roads relinking areas where the groups live. But now, because of the floods, these roads are no longer usable. People fear this could have dire consequences for stability.
To make the peace, we need the movement. So the use of this area to move to other locations so that they will discuss about how to make the peace. Then other youth from other tribes, they may come here so that we can share information and we stop the violence.
International aid organizations like the World Food Programme are delivering emergency aid, but much more is needed.
It's much worse than we anticipated. And in fact, if we don't get $100 million in the next few weeks and next month, we literally are talking about a famine in the next few months.
The floods have inundated vast areas of fields and pasture land, wiping out harvests and drowning tens of thousands of goats and cattle. As a result, 5.5 million people are expected to go hungry in this region in early 2020.
We're going to go over to Nairobi, where journalist Joya Foster is standing by. She has recently been in South Sudan for reporting. Welcome to DW Africa, Joya. So how dire is the situation in the country?
Well, from what I could see, it's very dire. I went to visit the region northern Baha Agazal, which is the northwest of the country, near the Sudanese border, and most people there are subsistence farmers. Everyone I spoke to had lost either entirely or partially the crops that they need to survive. I spoke to a 28-year-old woman, for example, a mother of 4, and she told me that she'd lost all of her crops and her storage of food, and her and her family are now living in a small hut that was intentionally built for the storage, and she said she really doesn't know what to do and how to feed her family in the coming weeks and months.
And how are people being helped?
Well, NGOs have rushed in. Many people are getting food aid from WFP and other NGOs. A lot of people are living in temporary shelters as well because they lost their homes. And some NGOs are also giving out financial aid so that people can buy some of the most needed items.
Joy, how is the political instability in South Sudan affecting the situation?
Well, the country's been at war for many years. Thousands of people have had to flee. They've lost their livelihoods, and they were already incredibly vulnerable before the flooding. There was a peace agreement signed last year, and by and large, there hasn't been much fighting. But there's a lot of insecurity, and people are unsure whether this peace is going to hold. A deadline for a unity government has been pushed several times. The deadline is now in February, but it's unsure whether the government will be standing by then or whether there'll be new fighting. So there's a lot of insecurity. A lot of areas are still not very easily reachable for humanitarian workers. And many NGOs have told me that the government isn't providing a lot of the services that people need. And a lot of these things, schooling, roads, medical services, are being provided by UN agencies and NGOs.
Right. I mean, Joy, just listening to this report, when you think about this nation, South Sudan, the youngest nation in the world, there's been famine, there's been disaster, political instability, fighting. One wonders if things can get worse for the people of Sudan. But how do they see things?
Well, what really struck me in the conversations with the people there is how little and how unable people are able to plan for the future. The people I spoke to, they think about the next few weeks, the next few months, how to feed their family. But there's very little that people can do to think about how they can build on their lives and how they can improve on their lives. So I really feel like in order for that to change, there needs to be real long-term peace and security.
All right, that's journalist Joya Foster. Thank you.
Temperatures in parts of southern Africa are expected to rise by twice the global average as a result of climate change, and the UN is calling for urgent action. In Zambia, more than 2 million people are now in need of food aid, as our Africa correspondent Andrew Harding reports.
In the fertile hills of Zambia, an unfamiliar crisis. Hunger has arrived here, millions now struggling to feed themselves. In once prosperous communities, women are foraging for wild roots. But it's not enough to live on. The signs of malnutrition are everywhere.
When did you last eat?
Me, almost 2 days. Without getting food. There's nowhere to get food.
The immediate cause of this is a crippling 2-year drought, prompting deliveries of local and international aid, and warnings, the scales don't lie, that some parts of Zambia are a step away from famine. But the bigger picture here is even more alarming. The signs that this isn't a one-off drought, that climate change, climate chaos is to blame. The rains can no longer be trusted.
It used to start in October. Now we're actually seeing it start in mid-December.
In a nearby field, the Jongani family have decided to try planting corn, hoping more rain will come. But the oxen are as tired and hungry as the humans. Many in this village are cutting down their trees to make charcoal instead, to sell in town. The rains have changed, says Ruben Jongani. So instead, people are chopping the trees to sell for cash, but that will turn this place into a desert. The villages will die. And so for now, it's 1 meal a day for everyone here. A bowl of thin porridge carefully shared. Better farming techniques can help families like this to cope with a changing climate, but it's going to be a struggle. Andrew Harding, BBC News, Zambia.